Before we start the show, I just want to let you know that this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. Welcome to Millennial versus Machine, my story on how I got someone else to pay off my student loan debt using real estate investing, now remixed into conversations about real estate, life, business, and everything in between. Let's dive into today's episode. Welcome back to another episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your favorite real estate broker, Courtney, here with another episode of the Millennial versus Machine podcast. As you guys know, we're in the middle of a series called A Broker's Heart, where I talk all things real estate broker and the systems that we use to really serve our teams and help our teams close more deals. This is the second to the last episode in this series. And as you guys know, real estate really is a team sport. Even if you're a solo real estate agent, you rely on a team. And so today I want to discuss the systems for engaging with agents and coordinators and a broker's team in general. This is a crucial component for, anybody that serves as a broker. And, my perspective on it really is if my team of real estate agents isn't winning, meaning closing deals, thriving in their careers, then I'm not winning. Okay. So these systems that I will discuss today about engaging with our teams is so crucial so that we can both efficiently and effectively help our real estate agents win. Now, what's really interesting is that there are agents out there, because I know y'all, there are agents out there that they don't see their broker as anything more than just the person that pays for the E&O insurance and that you report egregious things to. Okay. And that's kind of the minimum. There are people out there that don't really want to go or in some cases do not feel comfortable enough to go to their broker to really get the support that they need in their careers. And so we're going to talk about some of my systems that I use to really stay plugged into my teams. That includes my agents, my coordinators, any sales leaders. These are important things. And so let's start off. There are three main components within this system. It's funny because, even outside the podcast, this theme of systems has been so prevalent. It's been jumping out to me. Now we're into the second month of 2024. And it's just incredible because as I'm navigating life, I'm just really mindful of the systems that govern our world. If you go to a restaurant, I look at the systems. What systems do they have in place so that they can best serve their customer? I think about Southwest Airlines. I fly Southwest a lot. I actually just came back from a trip, and I look at the systems that they have that truly do put the customer first. I mean, who would have thought that if you wanted to make same day flight plans or changes to your existing flight, it would be so easy. You can either pay to move your seat, and it's really cost effective to do that. Move your flight, or you can hop on standby for free. I didn't even know that until this past week. And it was so easy and convenient. And so I just wanted to pause right there because every single episode in this series, we've been focusing on systems. Okay. And whether you are a broker or a real estate agent or just any sort of professional out there, systems are the key to doing your job well. Right? doing anything well in my experience. Now, kind of, I guess you could have a bad system and then therefore you I don't know, like waste your time or you're not as efficient. But I think a good system combines efficiency and excellence with like accountability. And so that's really what's been standing out to me. We'll talk a little bit more about that in the next episode. But there's just that theme, right? And my team actually, they say, like, Courtney, enough of these late nights, like enough of like, you are working entirely too much. And I try to tell them, like, y'all, no, I'm just efficient. I promise you, I have excellent work life balance. I get my 8, sometimes 7, get my 8 hours of sleep, right? Like, and I'm able to do that because of my systems. And maybe the outside world looking in is thinking, "Oh my gosh, she's just like slaving." And it's no, it's just efficiency and it's systems. Okay. So thank you for allowing me to digress because systems mean so much to me, and systems govern our entire world, whether you acknowledge them or not. Okay. So let's dive into the 3 components of my systems for engaging with my team. The first component I want to talk about is culture. Okay. And you may be thinking, culture, like what is that about? Well, like I had talked about, there are some brokers that, or excuse me, some agents that fear going to their broker, right? And so when I think about the culture that I establish as a broker, as a support system for my agents, I think about this culture of openness, right? I want my team to always feel comfortable and open to come to me no matter what. I tell my agents, number 1, there are no dumb questions. Okay. Number 2, everything is fixable, but the sooner you bring it to me, the easier it is to fix. Okay. And I repeat these things pretty regularly throughout the years to my teams, because I want them to feel free and open to come to me because I'm on their side. Okay. So if you are trying to engage with your agents, maybe if you are trying to engage with your colleagues, right? If you're trying to engage with anybody, having kind of a culture of openness is really important. It's inviting. It's comfortable, right? My team knows that they can come to me and I'm not going to judge. Y'all, we can't judge anybody, okay? And that's a whole nother episode, okay? But that is really, really important. The other thing is making sure there is a system within the culture for escalating to you as the broker. Okay. So for me, there is a specific escalation protocol. And so agents know, okay, I absolutely need to bring this to Courtney. Or, you know what, I'm going to bring this to my sales manager. Or, you know what, I'm not sure in this situation. Let me bring it to Courtney just in case. Like, that is part of the culture that I really like to facilitate. Okay. And not every real estate broker or brokerage has teams. Maybe you're flying a little solo, kind of like what I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast. There still should be systems for how you engage with your broker or how the broker engages with their agents. Okay. And that's developed through the culture. Now, I'm not saying there's one right or wrong way to do this, right? And I'm not saying that there's one right or wrong culture that a broker can establish. I think anybody needs to kind of look at what they want their teams to do, how they want their teams to operate, how they are wired as the broker, how their teams are wired, and then kind of mesh all of that information together to form a system and a culture that really fits where you want your business to go. And I would say, even agents that are listening to this, you have the ability to build a culture with your customers and your clients, right? That culture could be, I'm more than just a partner in your real estate transactions, your family. I'm your family, right? That culture could be, just an openness with your clients or your customers that's like, look, if it's real estate, I'm going to him or I'm going to her and I'm asking just in case because I know that this person has my back. So that's the first component of the systems for engaging with agents and coordinators is the culture piece. Culture is huge. The more leadership books and business books that I read, there's just a great emphasis on culture. And you heard the old phrase about like, people will stay at a company or stay at a place of employment because of the culture that their direct manager has facilitated, or because of the culture that the company has facilitated. That even though they might be able to go somewhere else and get paid a little bit more, that culture is important to them, so they stay. Right? I'm not saying that that's the only reason, but that is a big component. And so, while I'm talking about a broker's heart, this really applies to anybody and everybody, right? And how you engage with the people around you, right? So culture, that's a big component. Let's go to the second component for systems for engaging with agents and coordinators. I like to say fostering regular opportunities to connect. Okay. And I know that's kind of a mouthful. And I also want to reflect on how virtual and digital we have become between social media and that being like a primary way that people connect with other people. But like, think about the pandemic, right? Think about when everything was shut down and we were in our houses, right? We didn't have a lot of opportunities to connect in person, and a lot of people started using more digital or virtual methods for connecting. Well, as a broker, having agents all across Texas, all across New Mexico, to me, I have to be really intentional about building opportunities to connect. Okay. Now, a lot of it is virtual, right? Whether that be Zooms or Google Meets. Sometimes it's telephone conversations, right? Sometimes it's email, sometimes it's text, right? Those are still worthwhile. And I think part of the reason why that is my primary way is just because, from an efficiency standpoint, when you have people all over the place, like that's the only way, right? But when I do get an opportunity to be in person, doing, in-person trainings, right? One of the things that I haven't done yet, I wanted to do it last week, but I was just so tied up. But one of the things that I want to do is like a coffee drop in for all of my agents and anybody that works with me, like in a given area, building a 2-hour window where anybody can just come in the morning and, hang out with me, chat about real estate, chat about deals, right? Grab a coffee, grab a tasty treat, right? Or not. Maybe an agent just has a ton of showings that day. Let them drop in, grab something and go, but know that I'm there to support them. So the whole coffee drop in thing, I really want to do it this year. You guys know I'm a coffee lover. And it's mainly about the experience. It's not necessarily all about the coffee, but it's about the experience. So that could be another opportunity to foster connections with your agents. Connections is key because it actually, all of these points that I'm making right now, they are all synergistic. They all go together, right? When we have these different opportunities to connect with our teams, it's another way to reinforce the culture that we want to have with our teams. Okay. And vice versa. So let's talk about the third component of systems for engaging with agents and coordinators. And that is keeping our pulse on the team. Okay. Keeping our pulse on the team. You, as a broker, you can go about this in so many different ways. Okay. I usually have like a weekly training opportunity, just a little bite-sized training. Anybody can log on. They don't have to be on camera. I call it a lunch and learn, but they can pop on, and the first 15 minutes before I get started, because there's a method to my madness, guys. So that's typically on Tuesdays at 12:15. And people have asked me, Courtney, why do you have it at 12:15 on Tuesdays? It's usually 12:15 to 12:45. And I say, because sometimes we'll get to like noon and we'll just be so plugged into whatever we're doing and we'll forget the reminder, like, oh, to hop on or whatever. So I always hop on at 12 o'clock, but it doesn't officially start till 12:15. And that 12 to 12:15 time period actually gives an opportunity for agents to pop on and ask me anything and everything, right? And just to connect, okay? That also helps me keep a pulse on my team, okay? The other thing, and I did this at the beginning of the year, which I was so grateful that I did, is regularly polling or surveying your team. So I had a very quick anonymous survey, very short. It was a very short survey intentionally because my peeps are busy and I want it to be something that they can do quickly. But I basically said, finish this sentence. My state broker helps boost my business by. That was one of the things. So they had to finish that sentence. The second thing that I asked them is, what topics would you like me to cover in training throughout this year? Like, what are you really interested in? Right? That gave me, first of all, so much content to record, to do in-person or market level trainings, like so many different things. But it also gave me, it's like a cheat code, exactly what my agents need in order for me to really support them, right? Because it doesn't matter as a broker if you're doing what you think they need, right? What really matters is, what does support look like to them, and then giving them that, right? Adapting, like as a broker, we have to maintain a high degree of adaptability. And that's actually one of the things that I love about my role, is that like I have to be adaptable. No day is this exact same. And every single person on my team wants and needs something a little bit different. And so I get to take that information and compile it to figure out, okay, how do I most efficiently address this, right? Is there a theme across all of the teams that I support? And then how can I, if a whole bunch of people want X, Y, or Z, let's say social media training, for example, then how can I do this to hit all of those target audiences, okay? The other thing beyond just polling the people that you serve, the other thing that I think about is looking at the data. How many customers are your agents receiving? How many customers are they engaging with? How many customers are they actually closing? How long does it take them to close that customer? Like, these are nuggets that will help us keep our pulse on the team. If, for example, I see that agents on a particular team are like, their close rate is low, or the time that it takes for them to close a customer or close a client, is long, then maybe I get with those people to figure out what is the gap and then how can I close that gap. Okay. The other thing in alignment with like looking at the data is looking at the industry, looking at the market. Okay. So one of the things that my agents want from me this year is they want to know what's happening in the other markets within Texas. Okay. Not just their market. They know their market like the back of their hand. But because we have so many people like moving to Texas, moving around Texas, or within Texas, they want to know how to speak to the market outside of their market, but within our state. And so looking at what's happening at the market level and in the industry as a whole is also something that's really important, because it allows you to be proactive as a broker to know, like, hey, this is here, or hey, this is coming. Let me get ahead of this so that my agents can be really proactive and be able to easily adapt. I'll give you an example. Buyer's agency and buyer's agent commissions. Okay. There is so much going on within the industry surrounding that. So the entire month of November, right now we're in February of 2024. Okay. So in November of 2023, I dedicated weekly training to this topic. Okay. I don't know where the industry is going, but I needed to make sure that my team is ready one way or another. If the industry or market swings from the left to the right, like they need to be prepared. And that really will help you, right? That will help you help your team adapt to the future states of the market. I also think about like buyer's agent commissions and how there are some sellers that are not wanting to pay a buyer's agent commission. Okay. Now, because I know that's coming, right? I can be proactive in my training, which I already have, and which agents probably need a little bit more reinforcement. And now I get to take this and equip them with what they need. Okay. So keeping a pulse on your team via regular feedback is so important. And then, of course, because you establish a culture of openness, right? Because you foster opportunities to connect, it makes keeping the pulse of your teams that much easier because it all goes together. I just realized that as I'm like looking through my notes. I didn't intentionally write that, but I was just thinking about like how I operate and what has been particularly successful as I engage with my teams. You guys, I'm so thankful for you tuning into this episode. Even if you're not a real estate broker or you're not a real estate agent, these three components for engagement, systems of engagement, can really help you in your everyday life. Heck, it could help you connect with your significant other, right? It could help you connect with your family, with your coworkers, with your boss. I hope it is useful to you. And like I mentioned, today is the second to the last episode in this series about a broker's heart. Join me next Tuesday for another episode of Millennial versus Machine, where we finish off this series and we talk a little bit about systems for developing as a broker and general systems for professional development. I hope you have a fantastic week, and I will talk to you next week. Bye.